Oh, that's good. Okay. So I hope everybody's enjoying this beautiful weekend. The weather is absolutely perfect. I just came from sitting at the coffee shop with a book that I like that I've been trying to read for like a month now for whatever reason. So I'm finally almost to the end of it, but it's been worth the procrastination because the little bits at a time has been very interesting to me. So nonetheless, what I want to discuss today is what I want to discuss today is surrender. So when we talk about manifesting all the things that we want to experience in life, or the desires that we have, or the places we want to go, the amount of money we want to have, the people we want to meet, the lifestyle we want to create, a large part of the manifestation process is built on how much of it you let go. So most recently, I've been, trying to create something career-wise, trying to create something where I sign a contract and get paid for my services, consulting or otherwise, right? So I had been, doing that whole make it happen. And before you even notice you're doing that, sometimes it's so far along that it took me sitting in front of a potential client and thinking that I was leaning in. It was my body language. I was leaning forward and I felt like I was trying to sell myself. And that is not a feeling that I enjoy. And I felt like the last few interactions that I had with potential clients, it was like selling myself. And I was like, I don't like the way this feels, right? Because I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I teach contractually for many different places, right? And it gives me freedom and opportunity to travel to different areas in the surrounding area. And so when I was leaving that particular meeting, the first thing I thought in my head was, I need to surrender more. I need to let this go. Because when you start feeling like it's all on you and you need to make things happen, that's when everything starts seeming like it's undoable, because you can't force things into action. They have to play out on their own. So I was like, how to surrender? How do I surrender more? How do I let go more? And so there's some curious things that I came across in my search, and some of it in the book that I was reading. So I made a little list of about 5 things that I think will help you surrender more often and easier in order to receive your manifestations. And so the first one is kind of a combined notion. It's naming what you truly want and being clear on it, and saying a short affirmation or a prayer or whatever it is out loud that lets it go. So say it's a trip to Belize or something like that you're trying to do. It's like, I truly want to go to Belize, and the letting go part would be, and I appreciate that trip in any way that it shall happen. Something like that, right? And then you just move on with your day, you move on with your life. The tricky part about surrendering is that it often feels like giving up. And you have to get a good balance between doing inspired action and then action that's just for the sake of not feeling like you're giving up on something that you're trying to accomplish, right? Another one that I wrote down was get like in a meditative state, and that's not like clearing all your thoughts and blocking everything out, but start stating and contacting the what is it called? The unseen energy, by thinking about what you really wanted to accomplish or what you desire, and feeling yourself into it without actually running around telling everybody about it or using so many words to discuss what it is that you want to happen. So not actually using your words, because words are very clunky. They're a very clunky way of expressing what's happening on the inside. I experience this as a writer all the time. Writing things that I want the reader to experience and stories that I want to tell. It's never like the amazing and fantastic world that happens on the inside of my head. So using less words and thinking yourself and feeling yourself more into the desire is always going to bring you closer to it. Another part is creating a fantasy. And a lot of people think, well, if it's fantasy, then it's like I'm daydreaming and I'm not accomplishing anything. You can do this before, after you do whatever action that you want to do. It started just like visualizing, like people talk about all the time, the reason why we make vision boards, but actually sitting down and seeing yourself in the environments. I've pictured myself in the environment of the home that I eventually building myself. I'm building it right now because I've been building it in my subconscious for a while now. But I've been picturing myself in it for so long that I know the exact space of everything, where each room is at. I can walk through it in the morning. I can go to the office. I can go to the playroom. The whole entire layout is perfectly clear. I've drawn it from memory just off the bat. I've had vision boards with it on it. And so that's something that I've been feeling my way into for a very, very, I wouldn't say long time, maybe a couple of years. So I know what it feels like to even be in the space, because I've sat and I've visualized and put myself physically in that space in my mind. Also, another thing is paying attention to signs or synchronicities. I was just giving a testimonial to a couple of friends the other day of some synchronicities that's been happening. So much of it's been happening in my life. It's not even funny, because you know that you're manifesting things all the time. The important part is to remember that when you're manifesting things, that you can be an active participant in that process, because it's happening no matter what all the time. But noticing things when they happen, like thinking about something and it happens, that's the coolest thing. And it can be simple stuff. I was listening to someone talk the other day on a TV show, and they said so and so was a crooner. And I'm like, what's a crooner? I was like, isn't that a singer? And I wasn't quite sure, but I just Googled it just to make sure. And sure enough, it was like a male singer in a band, the lead singer, right, called a crooner. So that same day, later on, I went to the coffee shop to go read some of my book. In the first paragraph of what I was reading in my book, from where I picked up from the last time that I left off, the guy mentions Frank Sinatra and saying he was one of the great all-American crooners. So it's like things like that I see happen so often. Even in my meditation this morning, I was sitting there thinking about this old yoga instructor I used to have that used to say, move your hips side by side. And I always wanted to say, no, it's side to side. But I was trying to not be anal. But that's how she spoke. She was always saying, move your hips side by side. And I'm like, side by side is when you're walking along with someone and you're side by side. But she always said it like every class. And right when I was thinking it's side to side, and I was like, wait, bring your thoughts back. The guided meditation that I was listening to was like, okay, now you can go ahead and move your body side to side. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And it's constant, or looking for something in particular and not finding it, and the minute your mind is off of it, you manifest the appearance of it. Thinking about someone, I ran into an old friend that I haven't seen since middle school, and we are not from this state, we are from Louisiana, and I saw her in the store, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you since middle school, right? And it's so funny because I was like, what a chance happening. That was so much synchronicity and timing that had to work out for us to be in that same place at the same time. How about a week later, I'm walking up to the gas station, getting out of my truck, walking up to the front door. I see a woman walking along with me, and I'm, like, oh, who's going to get to the door first? I guess I'll hold the door open for her. It's her again. And I was like, how much timing had to be in place for us to run into each other again? So pay attention to some of that guidance and divine timing, and watch your manifestations, not just the big things, but the small things play out. And one of the last things is being patient, and while you're in this patience, having a lot of gratitude for the things that are there. So it's like making sure that you are in a positive space, that you're not feeling like you are in a scarcity mentality, or you're feeling like it's not happening as fast as I want it to happen. I'm not getting what I want to get as quickly as I want. Just remain in gratitude, and remember that you decided to surrender it. And I told myself, no more chasing. I'm not chasing anything. And I told myself until the end, but it's going to be even longer than that, because it's so quick that we forget that we are not in charge of all these things that are happening until a manifestation pops up that shows us that we didn't have anything to do with its coming to pass. Like in particular, there's a collective mind at work, and everything's working in your favor, right? If you read the book The Alchemist, he talks about the universe is conspiring to make things happen for you, but you have to let it. And I always put it into like thinking about when I was learning how to float on my back, when I was taking some swimming classes. And the tighter I was and the more stiff I was and the more heady I was and the more overly conscious I was about, picking up where I left off, the more heady I was about what was happening beneath me and how everything was going to go, the more it was harder for me to float on my back. The more I let go and the more that I just surrendered to what the water was going to do for me anyway, and that was holding me up, the faster it was for me to be able to create. It faster it was for me to be able to surrender and float and be free. So just think about it as being surrendering and floating and being free, and your manifestations will flow much more easily. And even if it's small things for now, the big things are going to come because that's the law, right? So I think I gave like 5 things. Let me look at my list again. Oh yeah, being clear on your desire and actually naming it out loud and then letting it go once you name it. That's number 1. And number 2 was being able to not use so many words and to think your way and feel your way into the consciousness of that desire. And number 3 is also visualizing yourself in that space and imagining that you are there and you are experiencing what that is you want to experience. And being on alert for things that give you guidance, things that help you move forward. That's number 4. Things that help you see that your manifestations are working. And being patient and having gratitude, that's number 5. And for me, being patient and gratitude also ties into using inspired action. So it's not giving up. It's just deciding that I'm surrendering, I'm letting go, and I'm going to be more patient, and I'm only going to be involved in inspired action from this point on. So those are the 5 big areas. It may have blurred into 6 that I feel surrendering plays the role that it plays in manifesting your desires. And so I hope I haven't been all over the place, and I hope you enjoy this gift that flows through me and to you. And have a beautiful and wonderful day.